Hi everyone, Ravi this side. Welcome to Engineering Enggadda. Today in this video, we are going to discuss about IOC and DI. So let me try to tell you what is IOC and DI is. So IOC means inversion of control and DI means dependency injection. So how we can perform the inversion of control and dependency injection in a Spring Boot application, we are going to see that. And what these concepts are, we are going to see from very basic. Okay, so you will get a very clear and concise knowledge about Spring IOC and DI. So let's get started for that, and let me try to go to the next slide to discuss about IOC first. So what is IOC? IOC means inversion of control. It is a fundamental principle of software engineering used to decouple components and promote modularity and flexibility in the code. So the main purpose of inversion of control is to promote the modularity and flexibility in the code with the help of decoupling the components. The main idea behind inversion of control is to invert the flow of control in a system. Okay, so instead of component controlling its dependencies, the control is inverted so that an external entity is responsible for providing the necessary dependency. So, in the previous ways of development, the component itself controls its dependencies. But now, we have an external entity which controls the management of dependency. So, this is what inversion of control is. Earlier, we were having the component have more control over the dependencies, but now there is a central agency that controls the dependencies in our application, and that is what inversion of control is. It is inverting the control to some other party. So don't confuse on these words. I will try to give you the practical example so that you can get the better idea of it. But as of now, just make sure that you are getting the thing that we are inversing the control. Like the previously, there was a component which is controlling its dependency. Now there is a party which controls that dependencies. Okay. Now let me try to go to the next slide to discuss about understanding IOC. Okay. So traditional control flow. In traditional programming, a class creates and manages its dependencies. For example, if a class A needs an instance of class B, it would create an instance of B directly within its code. This is the traditional control of control flow. This is the traditional way of dealing with the dependency, where let's say there is a class that needs the instance of B. It will create the instance of B directly within its code, directly within that particular class, directly within its class. But this was the traditional flow of control. Now we have inversion of control. Okay, so inversion of control, the control of creating and managing dependency is handed over to an external container or framework. The container is responsible for injecting that required dependency into the class. So in Spring Boot, we have a Spring context, and that help us to managing this inversion of control. Now let me try to go to the next slide to discuss about key concept here. So the first one is dependency injection, and the second one is inversion of control container. So the most common form of inversion of control where the dependency are injected into the class, typically through constructor, setter, or interface methods. So these are the way how you can try to inject the dependency into the class. So the previous traditional way was to create its own object, like the object of the dependency that you need within the particular class itself. But now there are ways to inject the dependency. So these are the way that we are listed here in the dependency injection, which is typically we can inject the dependency through constructor or setter or interface methods. Okay, here we are going to see how we can inject the dependency through constructor. Coming to the second key concept is IOC container. A framework or a container that manages the life cycle and dependency of objects is known as IOC container. Example of this IOC containers include Spring Framework in Java, Unity in C#, and Angular in JavaScript. So Spring Framework try to have a container which deal with the inversion of control. Okay. Now let me try to go to the next slide and discuss about benefit of inversion of control. So the first one is decoupling, second one is testability, and the third one is flexibility. So let me try to read out the things for the decoupling. So decoupling, that means decoupling reduces the coupling between the components, making the system more modular and easier to maintain. So let's say there is a two classes A and B, and class A needs the object of class B. So when it is coupled, the object of class B is created within the class A itself. But when it is decoupled, we are going to inject that dependency of class B into the class A, and directly we are not going to create the object of the class B into class A. Okay, so that is what decoupling is. It reduces the coupling between the components, making the system more modular and easier to maintain. Coming to the second point, which is testability, enhances the ability to test component in isolation by allowing mock implementation of dependencies. So let's say, again, take the same example, A needs the object of B. Then in that case, if you want to test out the class A functionality, then you have to create the object of class B in class A itself, right? But when it is injected, you can mock that injected object, and then you can test out your class A features. Okay, so that is what it helps us in doing the testability. And now the third term is flexibility. Makes it easier to change the implementation of dependencies without modifying the dependent class. Okay, so these are the benefit of inversion of control. Now coming to the next slide, here I have listed out one example without IOC, without inversion of control, and these are the example we already discussed. Like class A is having let's say method called service A, and it needs the instance or the object of class B. So inside that constructor of class A, we are trying to create the object of class B, because A is, here you can see this is the scenario where service A is tightly coupled with service B. Okay, so you can say we are directly creating the object of class B inside the constructor of class A, and that is what the tight coupling is. And then we have inside class A, we have a perform method which is trying to use that object of class B to execute the execute method of class B. Okay, so in totality you can see that inside the class A, we are creating the object of class B. That means it is doing the tight coupling. We don't have any inversion of control here. Now coming to the next slide, I have listed down this example of inversion of control where the concept of inversion of control is applied. Here you can see we have class A, and again inside class A we needs the object of class B, but we are not directly going to create the object of class B. What we are doing is we are trying to pass the object of class B inside the constructor of class A, and those objects we are passing at the runtime when we are calling the perform method of class A inside the main block. So here you can see we are trying to create a class A. Inside that we need the object of class B. We have a constructor of class A where we are passing the object of class B, and then we have a perform method which is using the object of class B to execute the execute method of class B. Now if you go to this main method, you can see that here inside the main we are creating the object of class B, and that object we are passing into the constructor of class A. We are not creating the we are not creating the object of class B inside the constructor of class A itself. We are not doing that, which we were doing in the example without IOC, right? But the same thing we are not doing here. So that means this is not a tight couple, this is a loose couple. Now you can see these things, and let me try to tell you that in the second example, service A no longer creates the instance of service B directly. Instead, service B is injected into the service A through its constructor. This inversion of control makes service A more flexible and easier to test. Okay, so this was about the inversion of control. Now, with the practical implementation, I will try to show you those things. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to create a application here, and with there we'll try to create the same example. We'll try to create a service A class, service B class, and then we'll try to see how we can use the inversion of control, and how without the inversion of control, how we are performing the operation. So everything we are going to see that. So just wait for a few seconds, let this IntelliJ up, and let me try to create a project here. So go to the file, new and project, and here you can choose any Java project here. So because we are not going to this is not a Spring Boot application, so either you can use a Spring Boot, but again you can create an empty project or any kind of project you can create. So let me try to create a Spring Boot project itself here, and let's say it is dependency injection, inversion of control, and select the Maven here and go next. Try to use this web if you want to use. Otherwise, that will also be fine. Without the web, you can create your application, and there itself you can create the main method and try to have your code. So just let me try to wait for a few seconds. When the dependency is downloaded and the configuration is done with this application, we can start doing our development here. So just wait for a few seconds, and after that what we can do is we can do our development. So you can see that it's resolving the dependency, and if we'll go to the source, main Java, here you can see we have our main class. Let me try to run this and then see how it is working, and if it is working fine, we'll try to do the development here. Okay, so just wait. So if everything is working fine, our application will be up on the port number 8080, and then we can start our development there. So you can see it is up, and we are good. Now let me try to create, let's say, one package first. Let's say without IOC, and inside that I'm going to create service A class. Okay, let me try to refactor this out. And here let me try to create the class, let's say service A, and then we have another class which is service B. Okay, now go to the service A, and here let me try to create the constructor for the service A. Before that, we need an instance of service B here. So let's say service B, and inside the constructor, let me try to create the constructor here. So you can go to the generate and go to constructor, and here itself you can create the constructor. Okay, so this is constructor injection, but what we are going to do is we are not going to pass this piece as an argument here. What we are going to do is we are directly going to create the object of class B to show you how we can how we can do the tight coupling here. Okay, we are not going to inject it out for this example because this is without IOC. So you can see we created one class service A. Inside that we need instance of service B, and inside the constructor of service A class we are creating the object of service B and assigning to that instance that we declared above. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create let's say public void perform method, and inside that we need let's say service B object. With the help of that, we are going to call our service B perform method, something like that, or display method of service B. Okay, so let me try to do this. We are good. Now we don't have display method inside service B, so we are going to create that out. So just create a display method inside service B, and let me try to print something like service B display method. Okay, now you can see these things, and now we are good. Now let me try to create, let's say either you can create main method here itself and then try to call these things. So let me try to do that. And inside this, what we are going to do, we are going to create the service A object. And then with the help of service A, we are going to call the perform method. Okay, and then run this. So you can see service B display method is being called. So let me try to show you the whole flow. So what we did is we created one class. Inside that class, we need the instance of class B. With the help of that instance, we are going to call one of the method of class B inside one method of class A, which is perform here. So with the help of service B instance, we are calling the display method of service B inside the perform method of service A. And then in the main, we are creating the object of service A and calling the perform method of service A, which internally calling the display method of service B. Now main picture is here in the constructor. So in the constructor, what we are doing is we are not injecting the dependency here. We are not injecting the service B instance here inside the constructor of service A. We are directly creating the object of service B, and that is where we are doing the tight coupling, and we are not following the inversion of control here. Okay, so this is the example without inversion of control. Now let me try to bring out the example where we can see the inversion of control. So let's say with IOC, and let me try to similar way copy this both classes and put them inside this with IOC, and we'll make some small changes and there we'll see. So if we'll come here, go to the service A, and inside the service A, what we are doing is we are not directly going to create the object of service service B inside the constructor of service A. What we are going to do is we are going to pass the instance of service B here, and with that instance we are going to initialize the variable of service, like instance of service A, which created at line number 5. So we are going to do this dot service B is equal to service B, and now comes the picture here. You can see when we are going to the main method, what we need to do is we need to pass one argument here inside the constructor of service A, which is the instance of service B. So we need to create that instance here. So service B, go to the service B, and copy this, pass it here. Okay, so we are inside this package without IOC, and we are doing the changes here. So we don't need to make the change here. Go to the with IOC package, and here itself we need those changes. So service B, and we are good. So here what we are doing is we are not directly creating the object of service B inside the constructor of service A. We are just trying to inject the dependency, which is instance of service B here in the constructor of service A. Okay, we are not creating the object here. We are not doing the tight coupling here. So that is why you can see in the main method we are creating this object, and we are passing it out in the service A constructor. And if you run this application, you will see that it is also working fine. You can see service B display method is called. So this is the main difference. In the without IOC, what we are doing, we are hard coding the values here. We are trying to create the object inside the constructors of A. And if you'll go to with IOC, what we are doing, we are just simply injecting the dependency that we need. And outside of that block, we are creating the this object, and we are passing it out where we are injecting it. So this is how you can perform dependency injection, and this is called a constructor dependency injection. And here you can see earlier we were creating the object, but now we are not creating the object. That means the control of dependency injection is now shifted to the main method. And you sense it, the control of dependency injection now shifted to the main method. That means some other party is going to take care of the dependency injection, not the component B or like service A is directly taking care of its dependency. Here the main method is taking care of its dependency, not service A itself is taking care of its dependency. That means the service A is not directly going to create the object of service B. It is taken care by the main method. So this is what inversion of control is, and this is a very simple example that I bring out to you so that you can get this concept very clear and you don't have any confusion in this concept. So this is about the video, guys. If you like the video, please hit the like button and please subscribe the channel for more such content. Thanks.